have now lost 7 consecutive divisional playoff games, 3 with Prescott as their quarterback. Prescott took the loss personally, and he should have. The losing locker room was an emotional place, filled with what Jerry Jones described as players sick with another playoff defeat.
This past weekend, the Dallas Cowboys officially had their season ended by the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I did get you guys a post-game reaction almost immediately after Cowboys lost to the 49ers, but while I was waiting for that video to upload, I hopped on Instagram Live and took some of your questions. And the number one question that I got is, what do the Dallas Cowboys do with Dak Prescott? To give you an idea, over the past 24 hours, I saw Micah Parsons throwing shade at Dak Prescott, supposedly, a Dallas Cowboys fan burning Dak Prescott's jersey.
Little attention whore, you got my attention. Congratulations!
And even the Dallas Cowboys' own Twitter account blaming Dak Prescott. Before we get to the content, make sure you're following me on Instagram. I read all of my messages from you guys. I take suggestions from you guys, and we post content on there on a daily basis. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! A lot of you guys have been hitting me up in the DMs telling me how much money you've been making on Prize Picks. A huge shout out to my subscriber Spencer Sims, who's made $7,000 off of his picks over the past 2 weeks. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I play Prize Picks religiously and I post my picks to my story each and every day. And if you want to try out Prize Picks right now, when you use my promo code microphone, you'll get up to a $100 deposit match on your first deposit. And if you get any big hits on Prize Picks, make sure you DM them to me on Instagram so I could feature you in future promos. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I figured I owed you guys this video. Last night you got a more emotional version of me because, dude, my favorite team lost. And today you're getting a more reasonable, logical version of me because, well, I had 24 hours to cope. I'm seeing a lot of nonsense on social media. Starting with the Dallas Cowboys' own Twitter account blaming Dak. I mean, take a look at this. Dak Prescott gave the ball away twice in the narrow loss to the 49ers. In a matchup the Cowboys had a chance to win if they didn't again generate self-inflicted wounds. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like, I am not a huge Dak Prescott apologist, but I mean, at least one of those interceptions to Michael Gallup seemed like a huge miscommunication between the two. But that's not the only thing I saw that really disturbed me. I mean, it seems like Micah Parsons fired a subtle shot at Dak Prescott as well. Now, I don't think this was really intentional because Micah Parsons is just a guy that really wears his emotions on his sleeve, but following the loss, which I'm assuming would result in Micah Parsons being very emotional, Micah Parsons said that the 49ers defense made more plays than the Cowboys did, but he also added that giving up just 1 touchdown and getting Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey in check should have been enough to win, especially if they don't have the 2 interceptions. So he pretty much is saying,
Yo, defense did its job, but offense, come on. You guys needed to do a little bit better than what you gave us tonight.
And to be honest, I just think this is Micah in a very tough spot. I mean, he's clearly emotional about his loss, and this is something news reporters love doing, just shoving a microphone in front of an emotional teammate's face, hoping for a soundbite. I guess they kind of got a micro soundbite, but I don't necessarily think Micah Parsons is looking at Dak saying,
God, Dak, you screwed us over.
It's not like Dak Prescott is the Zach Wilson of the Cowboys. The number one question I've been getting recently is, what do the Dallas Cowboys do with Dak Prescott? Clearly, Dak Prescott was the reason why the Cowboys lost last night, right? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. I brought this up in my last video. During the earlier part of Dak Prescott's career, he was known for his ability to take care of the football. I mean, I don't like counting the rookie years of 4th or 5th round pick quarterbacks, mainly because, well, you don't really have a lot of tape on those QBs. I don't want to take anything away from Brock Purdy because he's having a fantastic run and I hope he has all the success in the world, but you have to admit that definitely factors into a lot of his success. Year 1, if a quarterback is even able to make that type of jump in the NFL, like bear in mind, a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick QB, even Mr. Irrelevant as a quarterback, making it as a starter in the NFL in of itself is a wild concept. But once they do, usually defenses struggle to stop them because, well, this is the first time you're seeing this individual at the quarterback position. And in that sense, I'd say Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy were similar. Dak Prescott didn't go into his rookie year being the assumed starter. He was plugged in due to an injury to Tony Romo. As a result, his rookie season was awesome. He had 23 touchdowns touchdowns and 4 interceptions in one of the most exhilarating seasons I think I've ever experienced as a Dallas Cowboys fan. Following that, he did have some issues with taking care of the ball. In his sophomore season, he threw 22 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Interception rate was the highest it's been since, well, up until this past year. But you'd see his flashes of greatness throughout his career. I mean, the year after, he threw 22 touchdowns to 8 interceptions for 3,885 passing yards. The 2019 season was without a doubt his best season, throwing for over 4,900 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. He got injured during the 2020 season, but he had a fantastic 5 games while he did play. In 5 games, he completed 68% of his passes for 1,856 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. In 2021, he was an absolute baller. 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 4,449 passing yards. This brings us to this past year. His season definitely got off to a wonky start with the broken thumb. There are questions about whether or not Cooper Rush was the better QB, which I don't really put a lot of stock into, but he finished the season with 23 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, the most of his career, and a 3.8% interception percentage. And the number one thing I was thinking about is what the hell is going on? How do we get to this point? This has never been a problem for Dak. Obviously, the lazy way to analyze this is
Just Dak Prescott isn't a good quarterback, Mike.
which, believe me, that's what a lot of people are saying. And for those people, I really just want you to acknowledge how freaking difficult it is to find a franchise quarterback to begin with. I mean, you put Dak Prescott on the New York Jets, and I'm very confident that that New York Jets team minimum makes it to the AFC Divisional or AFC Championship. There's multiple teams that could use a quarterback of Dak Prescott's caliber, and as a result, could potentially make it very far. Problem is, I think this past season, there was a combination of Michael Gallup coming back in the middle of the season and Dak Prescott not being available during the beginning of the season that kind of ruined their chemistry with one another. And I think that definitely showed in the divisional game versus the San Francisco 49ers because Dak Prescott would throw an interception to Michael Gallup. And when you look at this interception over and over again, it was clearly a miscommunication in terms of timing. Dak thought Michael Gallup was going to come back. Michael Gallup did not. Result was an interception. And I think that was a huge factor in addition to the fact that Cowboys wide receiver group got significantly weaker. I don't think you guys understand how great of a wide receiver Amari Cooper is. He's definitely one of the best route running wide receivers in the entire NFL. And when you pair him with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, obviously your job as a quarterback is significantly easier. Then when you have weapons like Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, that also alleviates some pressure as the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So with that being said, should the Dallas Cowboys move on from Dak Prescott? Well, there's another thing that not a lot of people are talking about that really taps into my core philosophy in regards to team building, and that's the amount of money that your quarterback makes. A lot of people don't discuss this. I wish this was discussed more frequently, but if you look at the past 15 years in the NFL, every team that has won the Super Bowl had either a quarterback that was outside of the top 10 highest paid QBs in the NFL, or took a significant pay cut as a quarterback, or was on a rookie scale contract as a quarterback. Now, Patrick Mahomes has the ability to potentially shatter that mold depending on how his game versus the Cincinnati Bengals goes this upcoming week, because Patrick Mahomes has not won a Super Bowl since getting his contract extension. But a huge part of my core team building philosophy is that you cannot give your quarterback a significant amount of money. That makes his supporting pieces significantly weaker. An individual that I believe really understood this concept was Tom Brady, whether that was due to his own volition, where he felt like it was a good idea to take pay cuts to help the team, or if Bill Belichick kind of forced him into it, is a different conversation. I mean, you could say that Tom Brady saw his wife, ex-wife now, Giselle, making millions and millions of dollars and then deciding, hey, I don't need all this money and I'd rather chase legacy. And I feel like he's a guy that really is pursuing his legacy. So you might be wondering why this is significant. A lot of people make fun of Dak Prescott's contract, saying you spent $40 million annually on Dak Prescott to just be a mid quarterback. If I'm going to put a label on Dak, I'm not going to call him elite. I mean, I think he has the potential to have elite games, but I don't expect consistent greatness from him the way I expect Patrick Mahomes to be incredible, or the way I expect Aaron Rodgers to succeed when he's not facing the San Francisco 49ers. But I do feel like if Dak has the right supporting pieces, then he could put your team in a position where you're competing for championships. And this is probably the biggest focal point of this entire video. It's something that no one discusses. Let me give you a list of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL currently. The first one is Aaron Rodgers, which we might have our own video on Aaron Rodgers coming out soon because his future is once again uncertain. Then you have Russell Wilson, who honestly, for the amount that the Broncos paid him, I think this contract's very unfortunate. The Broncos extended him before he even really took the field. Hopefully year 2 will be better better with a brand new head coach. The third highest paid quarterback, Kyler Murray. This was a contract that I actually applauded the Arizona Cardinals for, because you were going to have to extend Kyler Murray eventually. You might as well get it out of the way so you could at least sign him for less than Lamar Jackson's getting paid this offseason. But if you pay attention, number 4 is also Deshaun Watson, who has the craziest contract in the NFL, a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract. The top 4 highest paid quarterbacks didn't even make it to the playoffs this year. The 5th highest paid quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, which is a remarkable value for his deal. And then you get to Josh Allen at number 6, who I agree, well-deserved money, before you get to Derek Carr at number 7, Matthew Stafford at number 8, and then you get to Dak Prescott at number 9. Now, the significance of this is there's a lot of quarterbacks that are probably going to get contract extensions this upcoming offseason. I mean, the salary cap's going to go up once again, but Lamar Jackson has been fighting like hell to get his contract extension. I'm expecting him to potentially reset the market, if I'm being honest. But you have Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, who all are potentially getting contract extensions this offseason. That's before I even bring up Tua. Tua's situation is a little bit murkier, and I think he's probably going to get his contract extension next year. This would push Dak Prescott into being the 12th or 13th highest paid QB in the NFL. For that value, the amount that you're paying Dak Prescott, that's a fantastic value. I mean, originally when we signed him to this contract extension, a part of me wasn't necessarily sure if we were capable of competing for a Super Bowl. Now that I see that we are paying him as the 13th highest paid quarterback in the entire NFL, I feel a little bit more comfortable. Now there's capital to invest in other areas. Now, granted, some of that money is going to Ezekiel Elliott's bizarre contract extension, which doesn't come off the books until 2027, which to me is still absolutely insane that we signed him to this crazy of a contract. But that's a different conversation for a different day. That's a huge reason why we don't have Amari Cooper, by the way. The Dallas Cowboys have a lot of interesting decisions to make during the offseason. I mean, this is a list of all of their potential free agents. See some legitimate studs there, like Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, of course, Tony Pollard. They definitely need to bring back Brett Maher. But if the Cowboys could manage their assets properly, they really could retool this team and potentially make a deeper run next year in the NFL playoffs. So you shouldn't really look at this situation as,
can Dak Prescott lead the Dallas Cowboys to a Super Bowl?
because I think for what you're paying Dak, you're getting a fantastic value. I think if you surround him with remarkable weapons and a good game plan, then he could get it done. And to be honest, before Tony Pollard went down, Dallas Cowboys were performing fairly well. I wouldn't say fairly well, but enough to keep themselves in the game. And by the way, I'm not the only person that's thinking this way. There's multiple teams that are also feeling a similar type of way, but not towards Dak Prescott, but potentially Derek Carr. I mean, if you trade for Derek Carr, he's getting underpaid relative to other quarterbacks at his position, and as a result, you could potentially trade him to a team that is average quarterback play away from success. So is Dak Prescott elite? Well, it doesn't really matter. To be honest, it really doesn't. You don't need him to play like Patrick Mahomes because you're not paying him Patrick Mahomes like money. You just need him to be above average and for him to get the job done if you surround him with good weapons. And while the Cowboys did do that this past year, I mean, they did their best to improve their wide receiver core despite having to trade Amari Cooper. Dak Prescott really only had Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb that he could really depend on. I would have liked to see the Cowboys potentially sign a player like T.Y. Hilton a little bit earlier. If they could find a way to get out of Michael Gallup's contract, which is already looking really bad, and get some additional help in the wide receiver room, I feel very optimistic about this team's future. So at the end of the day, is this the end of Dak Prescott? The answer is no, because he's a tremendous value for his contract, and it's very difficult to find a franchise QB. Just ask the Indianapolis Colts. Let me know what you guys think about this situation in the comment section down below. Do you think the Cowboys should move on from Dak Prescott? Are you blaming someone else? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.